5-minute mark since PDI, powered descent initiation. This is one continuous burn from PDI all the way down to the surface.
VFM mode is DPOS only.
All right, we're still processing delta position. Those are camera measurements the lander is looking at and making decisions. One of those decisions will be using hazard detection to fly to an intended landing region and then autonomously make those decisions of a safe site, whether that's safe from boulders or steep slopes. We'll hear those call outs after we pitch over. You'll hear HDA, and that's what we're listening for to figure out where those hazards are and choose a new landing site.
Now over 7 minutes into the burn is left. This braking burn
engine is still healthy.
And great confirmation about the engine itself. That engine is bringing
GNC 176 acknowledged.
Engine is bringing us from about 4,000 miles per hour to eventually a soft about 1 meter per second, or about 3 feet per second landing.
And I'm catching a little jitters watching the viz here, so I think folks at home will be seeing the same thing. Remember, this is data being streamed down from a lander that's braking about 4,000 miles per hour, trying to feed that data back 250,000 miles away.
TAL is ebb now at 5 dB.
Just to enjoy a little view.
8 minutes elapsed. Camera's now in braking 2 mode.
We are still inside of PDI, braking 2 mode.
250 seconds left in braking.
So we cross over 8 minutes into this burn.
Again, about an 11-minute burn. We don't expect the engine to reach full 100% thrust. It's really a throttled approach. This engine is designed to continuously burn in throttle all the way from power descent initiation, which began 8 minutes and 30 seconds ago, through touchdown. This approach is very similar to what we saw for the Apollo descent modules as well.
And it makes a lot of sense. If you go in at 100% and you need a little more, there's nothing left to give, right? We want to come in nominally around 90% and then have a little bit of room to play if we do need to increase the speed of which we're slowing down. You'll hear folks maybe call out the rate of acceleration, but in this case, for us, that's deceleration.
9 minutes elapsed.
Crossing over 9
200
minutes.
seconds left in braking.
Yes, just a couple of minutes left in the braking burn, so another look forward to that rapid succession of events that'll come immediately after braking is complete. We will see pitch over begin. We'll be using those 4 RCS, or reaction control system thrusters, at the top of the spacecraft to reorient Athena before its a final approach, vertical descent, and terminal descent.
And all of those after PDI, Leah, that you just called out, we're expecting those to happen rapidly. We can kind of sit back and let flight controllers really get into what's happening. We'll take a few chances in between to help. There's a LOS on one of the radio systems. Again, expected as we get in towards our pitch over maneuver. Some jitters on the viz.
Quasonics still showing good data.
That's a second radio. So the first one,
good data on Quasonics.
the first one we heard a loss of
GNC
signal.
177 acknowledged.
The second was a confirmation that the second radio, we still have signal. So it's good signal, good data, good viz, and we're watching the show here along with the folks at home.
10 minutes into the burn, so expecting just about a minute more until the end of this braking maneuver.
We expect and plan for pitch over just about 2 kilometers away from the intended landing site. That gives Athena a little bit of time to pitch over and start looking forward using her navigation sensors to detect different hazards, as well as her altitude, to lower down to the lunar surface at approximately 1 meters per second if all goes towards plan. There's LOS as we approach our pitch over. All right, we're approaching 11 minutes into the burn. Local time is 11:26.
AOS on Quasonics.
11 minutes in.
11 minutes in, we heard another call out up on Quasonics. That's our radio system. It's 11:26 local. I'm looking pitch over time at 11:27 in about 52 seconds. So we are coming up over to the pitch over, where we expect to have some loss of comms. Earlier we talked about multipath. That is very unique to the lunar South Pole, where our radio signals are using multiple ways to get to the same destination, whether that's from bouncing off the harsh terrain or some different polarity issues down there on the South Pole. We expect to have a weaker than normal signal, but we still want to make sure we get that confirmation, Leah. As part of that confirmation, we're going to safe the vehicle figure out the status there, and then start working on pictures after everything's safe. Maybe around 2 hours after landing, we can cherish that photo.
LOS on Quasonics.
There's that loss of signal on one of the radio systems. We approach 12 minutes into PDI.
Again, the engine will continue to fire, albeit it will continue throttling down as we approach the lunar surface. And a reminder, the Viz is a simulation based on flight data, but if we do lose contact with the lander, which can be expected based on the conditions at the lunar south pole, we will continue to see projected data on this visualization.
And we're approaching G, as in ground, to 2 minutes. We expect to drop this clock here in 2 minutes and take all of our commands from inside of Nova Control. The bottom right hand of your screen, that's Dr. Tim Crane, our co-founder and Chief Growth Officer, also sitting in as Mission Director for landing this IM-2 mission. Standing by for the latest information. Let's wait one.
Quasonics AOS.
HRN, HGA, HGA2.
Thales AOS.
60 seconds left in braking.
60 seconds left in braking.
And approach. Landing site selected.
Engine at idle.
11 meters cross range, divert.
Quasonics LOS.
There's that loss of signal over pitch over. Stand by, see if we regain that signal. Remember, folks, the Viz that you're watching at home is an estimation of data. It's doing its best. That's a lot of data coming from really far away. All commands and all confirmations
Initiated pre-divert.
come from our mission director at the bottom right hand of your screen.
Again, we are standing by, monitoring the Viz just as you are at home, along with Nova Control.
We are approaching approximately the time that we estimated Athena would touch down on the surface. We did hear a call out for a Quasonics LOS. That is our radio system, something we expect to happen at pitch over. That's prior to a vertical descent and terminal descent. That latest
How
data
are we doing on signal?
is what you're seeing on the Viz. Why don't we go?
We currently are getting our uplink through Hemi 2, and we have a healthy AGC value, so our uplink is coming in strong for Thales. And then for our downlink, we have a strong EBNO at 17 on Green Hilly, and we are currently not seeing our Quasonics. So we are in Quasonics LOS.
All right, that's a
See our
Quasonics.
signal strong on the spectrum for Thales. I'm not seeing our Quasonics on our spectrum as of yet.
FM, what mode are we in?
We approach 17 is the last we've seen.
All right, so that's up on one radio, and they do have a loss of signal in the second.
Fido, I'm looking at the SenseXL. Do you see the SenseXL reading?
Let me look.
That's the mission director detecting, see if
I
the
am
lander.
seeing he sensed Excel 1G.
So that was the mission director, Tim Crane, trying to figure out what is the vehicle sensing. It has two inertial measurement units on board. You can think of those as your inner ear. And he's asking, what is the sensed acceleration? That's what he's asking for, is what is that inertial measurement unit, that inner ear, detecting as far as acceleration?
Again, as we've mentioned, the viz here is just an interpretation of landing.
Yeah, let's go ahead and stay on Nova control. Looks like the viz is hovering. We can't.
Prop, what are you seeing on the engine?
The engine is still in idle at min thrust. We are still seeing chamber pressure.
So we're getting good data. We heard that we have one radio up, one radio loss of signal. We just heard that we
I'm
have.
seeing guidance to solution for time to go as increasing, which is indicating to me that it is the onboard nav state is not decreasing in altitude.
The good news, the HRN laser is now ready to fire.
So we heard that we have one good radio sending down data, one that has loss of signal. We have prop.
Standing by with a manual command for landed ops.
Yep.
No recommendation at this time.
Yep, we have prop telling us that we have good data. That was someone just commanding. We heard exec mode to go into this firing mode and someone standing by to get into our landed ops mode. I'll wait for Dr. Crane to confirm here. But if we're pulling down data, we'll see how this goes. Looks like Tim's about ready to jump on the loop and sort out what we saw on the viz versus what the folks inside of Mission Control are seeing on their monitors. It's a good reminder, too, this public channel that we're listening to here in the studio, Leah, and what people are listening to at home, at the land party at Lone Star Flight Museum.
All right, folks. I'm showing that we are sensing lunar acceleration. So we're on the surface. Let's evaluate.
All right, let's continue to evaluate. I hear we do have a picture from a portion of the descent. Is that right over there? All right, so that's a picture during braking about 10 kilometers up
MD,
from
this
the
is
lunar
Prop on
surface
IM1.
that we do have while we wait
We
for a
can
little more
confirm the
information.
engine is still running and therefore needs to be upright. If we were in a different configuration, the engine would have snuffed.
Okay, so we have confirmation. I believe that was from Con that says the engine's still running. This picture you're looking at, the 10 kilometers up during that braking burn, that powered descent initiation, that long burn that brought us 4,000 miles per hour braking burn. Incredible shot.
Yeah, that's
there.
what I'm saying as well.
All right, there's another view there. Looks like from this panel we're looking at the garage, so that's a Lunar Outpost map rover inside of that square right there, Leah. And this looks like it's probably about the same altitude, maybe about 10 meters above the surface. And one more here for everyone. It's about the same altitude there, maybe a little bit more exposure, but these
Camera's still running in HRN mode.
These photos came down for us just a few moments ago. Wanted to share those before we jump back into mission control as flight controllers are looking at this dynamic situation and learning
Yeah, go
more
ahead and put us in landed
the
ops. It looks like we're down. We need to evaluate that situation, and I'd like to get a picture.
As they say, picture it didn't happen.
Hello,
So
Wes.
Dr. Crane's onto it right there. A couple
FM
things here, Leah.
3402 was acknowledged. AOS on Thales.
What we're hearing in our ears and what folks at home are listening to are not the
Mode
only
20 landed
channels
ops. Check your systems.
that mission
Engine is shut down.
controllers are working on. It's an engine shutdown notice. We'll see what comes out of this. But they are all on different loops having separate conversations. So all the information that we have, that folks have at home, isn't necessarily the exact vibe inside the room. So we'll stand by and listen in to see what we have here. I did hear Dr. Crane call out that they are getting readings for
All right,
lunar
folks, we're moving to
acceleration.
the post-landing core procedure.
All right, Spark, I'm going to start shutting some stuff off as soon as we can.
Copy. Can you meet me on my loop, please?
Feed lines are inerting.
All right, so if we have enough data to be inerting feed lines, that means the engine's no longer running, and it's a state to bleed off that extra pressure. This is part of that safing bit that we talked about earlier, Leah. Looks like our CEO, Steve Altimus, just stepped into the room. That's in the bottom right hand of the box here, talking to the mission director, Dr. Tim Crane. He just called out telling Spark to turn some things off. That's because we need to remain in a power positive state, Leah, getting that top deck solar array into a spot where we are able to charge, but sometimes you have to turn a few things off to make sure that you're charging and not just burning through that power. All right, by my countdown clock, it's been about 22 minutes since we started that PDI, Leah.
And again, we were anticipating landing at about 11:31 a.m. Central Time, 12:31 p.m. Eastern Time. It can get tricky with communications on the lander when you're in a...
Prop, do we have insight to tank pressure if we turn off the Mogies and the Iggies?
We would, yeah.
All right, that's code for the...
If you turn off Mogies, then we cannot inert or vent the tanks.
Yeah.
We can bring them back up though, right?
Yes,
How are my pressures?
they're low at this time.
Okay, turn off the Mogies and the Iggies.
Going.
Could we turn everything off except the vent valves?
Yes.
That would be everything except MV103 and MV303.
All right, all this activity is regarding the lander's propulsion system. They're going through deciding on how to vent it. We heard two things there, Leah. We heard Mogies and Iggies. That's our motor engine gimbal system, right? And our Iggy is our igniter. So they're working through the process of safing this engine. At the top of the show, we talked about the priorities after touchdown, and being safe was first, followed by pulling down some health status information, and then images. And then just about 3 minutes ago, we heard Dr. Crane go ahead and say,
FM3403 acknowledged.
we'll prioritize images. It's just about 9 minutes after the expected landing. So let's hang tight and continue to watch this problem and challenges unfold inside of Mission Control. Each one going through, finding this challenge, each one getting solved here. It sounds like they're working through venting the engine system.
Let's power off the Quasonics until we get a handle on what antenna we're going to pipe it through.
Copy. Quasonics is currently in idle mode.
Good enough, thank you.
Quasonics, that's our radio. There's two radio systems on lander. It sounds like when we talk about that vehicle health status, we heard some things for prop. Vehicle health status includes being in a power positive state.
Spark 636 acknowledged.
So we are communicating, commanding the lander, and getting acknowledgments back that the lander is behaving as expected. So putting those things together while we wait for confirmation from Dr. Crane, we have an engine that is shut down. We are venting the engine.
Spark 637 acknowledged.
We are getting acknowledged commands from the lander. Standing by for confirmation from Dr. Crane.
And just a recap of some of the timelines so far today, we had power descent initiation start about 25 minutes ago.
FM3406 acknowledged.
Power descent initiation is the braking burn that really committed us to coming down to our landing site today. We were targeting landing at about 11:30 a.m. Central Time, so about 10 minutes ago now. Again, still just standing by for some confirmation from the teams in Nova Control, and hopefully a picture that shows the status of Athena on the lunar surface. Landing site today is Mons Mouton. It is the furthest south target for any landing up into this point.
And pretty credible images we just went through. You know, for those to come down during
Spark 638 acknowledged.
during that landing sequence, showing during that deceleration burn, just about 10 meters, I believe that was, over the surface for those images. See who we have in there. Yep, down towards the bottom
Spark
right-hand side
639 acknowledged.
of your screen. We keep hearing those acknowledgments of the vehicle receiving our commands as we stand by for the real deciding factor here. Never a dull moment, Leah.
We did hear that they were going into
Spark 640 acknowledged.
commanded landed ops. So can you walk us through some of what that means? I know that includes safing the engine as well.
Right, so there's different modes that we need to command, right? At the beginning of PDI, we hear the command for exec mode, all right?
Spark 641 acknowledged.
That's executing the burn maneuver, right? When we switch over into landed ops, it's a different setting on the lander in order for us to go through those steps, safing the vehicle first and foremost, that liquid methane, liquid oxygen engine.
Yep, bring it down. Also, FM, I'd like a recommendation on whether or not we keep Talos 1 up or if we bring it down.
1 up. 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 1
It's going to be a decision on up and down for radios based on
Yeah, bring it down
power.
for now. We're taking the same pictures.
I would not recommend powering down Talus.
He did say pictures.
He did say pictures, yes. So, hoping to see the status of Athena on the lunar surface soon. We were initially expecting pictures would take a couple of hours to come down as the flight teams prioritized downloading data and safing the vehicle, but this will help us better understand the configuration of the lander.
Spark 642 acknowledged.
Every time we hear Michaela come on the tunes
Order,
there,
can you zoom in on this view? Actually, give me the spacecraft view.
Spark 644 acknowledged.
getting all these acknowledgements coming through.
No, take task down.
All right, we're going to see here. Looks like Tim's
Star
getting a good
tracker's
spot.
down.
Keep powering down things that we're not using anymore. Mission director looks like he's looking up at the screen. Maybe they're looking at a little bit of data that we not have in front of us. Still standing by for confirmation. But we've heard a few steps go through the process, venting the lander system, hopefully pulling down data inside of mission control, confirming Athena's status on the surface. And then finally, it sounds like we've heard a couple mentions of pictures. We've shown a couple from that descent stage. And we're just going to keep standing by, looking into Nova Control here in Houston, Texas, just down the street from Johnson Space Center, to find out the situation inside of the IM-2 mission with Athena's touchdown. Again, that was about, nominally, the touchdown time is about 14
Spark
and a half
645
minutes ago.
acknowledged.
Still in contact with the vehicle right now. We know the vehicle is shut down. Its engines are powered down. We are getting acknowledgement transmissions to the vehicle.
All right, team. Keep working the problem. We're shedding power as fast as we can to keep the vehicle in good health. We are generating power. We are communicating through our telemetry radio, and we are working to evaluate exactly what our rotation is on the surface.
Spark 646 acknowledged. Spark 648 acknowledged.
So good confirmations there, right? We know we're getting acknowledgement. We're sending things to the vehicle. We're safing the vehicle. Now it's time to start
Spark
working the challenge of
647
how
acknowledged.
is the vehicle? Which way is it pointed? Earlier in the show, we talked about the different antennas on the vehicle and trying to work those. But we are charging, which is a very key element to this mission. Looks like the room's filling up with our subject matter experts. Just continue working on this challenge to see where we stand.
Spark
Bring them back down.
649 acknowledged.
If you see
DS is back in low rate.
You see folks walking on the bottom right hand of your screen underneath the camera. That's because the room's situational awareness is about a 65-inch TV sitting underneath of there. So what they're pointing at could be data, could be confirmation. A little hard to see from this view, but as you see people exiting the bottom of your screen on the bottom right, there's a television monitor there that's helping them make some decisions. And as we cross over, it's been about 30 minutes since time of ignition for PDI, and we just hit 16 minutes since our nominal landing. If you're just joining us, we know we are sending commands to the vehicle. We have shut off equipment that has not been necessary. We know that we have an engine that has been shut off. We've commanded the vehicle into surface operations. We just heard from Dr. Tim Crane that we are generating power. We're turning things off that are no longer required. We heard one of them being the star tracker. It's one of the tools that we use to figure out Athena's position in space during flight. We're in landed ops. Now we're just standing by to hear what the full situation is. About 16 and a half minutes since nominal landing time, and a little over 31 minutes since Athena commanded her final engine burn.
Spark
PDI.
651 acknowledged.
Like you said, Josh, we are
Order,
communicating.
go ahead and turn on the displays for all the antennas.
We're
Okay, so you're
communicating.
going to see everyone looking up at the screen here. So when they're calling back to order, that's actually
Spark
in
652
the
acknowledged.
back left of the bottom right monitor. They're changing screens inside the room. Situational awareness television up front, right in front of the mission director. You just asked to pull up the antenna configurations, trying to figure
Spark
out
653 acknowledged.
which one's pointing back toward Earth. which might be the best one to use towards the top of the show and during PDI when things got a little spicy. We talked about multipath, Leah, and that's something that we expect to happen on the South Pole. It's something we learned from during IM1, quite frankly, with Odie. Being on the surface and radio waves taking multiple paths to get to the same destination. Multipath exists down on the lunar surface just because there are so many different ways. So during IM1, we were sending out signals that were bouncing off the surface, bouncing off of craters, and making their way back to Earth. We took I think it was a Saturday and a Sunday to learn a little bit more about the multipath situation. You mentioned, Leah, Odysseus ended up breaking a leg and then laying down gently on the surface, but that communications does create a problem between multipath and learning about those things. Inside of Intuitive Machines' Lunar Data Network, it's comprised of ground stations all over the globe. The largest one of them
being... Good work so far. What else we got?
The largest one's down in Australia. That is the Parkes Observatory. They call her Miri Yang down there, but that really is what helped us pick up those weak radio signals for IM1. That's not the dish we're on right now, but it seems like we do have a great connection from the vehicle. I believe that dish we're using right now is GHY6 in Goonhilly, but I don't have that confirmation right in front of me.
AD, this is Prop. Can you confirm what is getting powered down?
Everything we can right now, Prop.
Copy.
They're powering down these systems aboard the lander because it does take quite a bit of energy to land, but we did hear good confirmation that we are also generating power.
Yeah, all these commands that are going to Spark is code for avionics, right? It's where our power is being allocated on the lander. And we've heard a lot of confirmations of things being turned off. We heard Dr. Crane say we are generating solar power. At last check, we heard Mission Director call out to look at the antenna configuration on the room's situational awareness model screen, and we're still standing by to see where this is going to go.
Yes, power down the chrosonics until we're ready to use it.
About 20 minutes now since our intended landing time today. Again, we were expecting that around 11:30 a.m. Central. Teams in the room in Nova Control. That's here at Intuitive Machines in Houston, Texas, just down the street from Johnson Space Center, continuing to evaluate the status of the spacecraft. Continuing to communicate with the spacecraft itself. And just waiting for potentially a photo that would help us confirm its orientation.
I'm just going to wait one and listen in for a couple cues coming into the studio here. Bear with us, folks. Thanks again, folks, for joining us for the IM2 missions landing coverage. I want to go over a few things we do have coming into the studio, into our ear, that we can confirm while the folks are working inside of mission control on their own challenges. But a couple things that we do have that we can confirm. Athena is on the surface of the moon. The team is going through the process of powering down systems that are not required. We heard the mission director call out that we do have solar charging, so we continue to hear them in our ear that they're turning off different systems that are not required. We are working to figure out the orientation of the vehicle, which is important because those are our antenna systems that will determine how much signal we're going to have and when we can start bringing down things like vehicle health data and other images that can help us to confirm. But we are communicating with the vehicle. We've heard throughout our intended landing time, through now different call outs, making it to the vehicle. We have direct communications contact, and we would tend to bring out some more information as we continue to assess this dynamic situation inside of Mission Control. We intend to have a press conference at 3 o'clock Central Time. That's 4 o'clock Eastern. We'll do it right over at Johnson Space Center, Leah.
That's right. Thanks for joining us today.
And we'll have plenty of other information if anything else comes out on our website, as well as our X feed to keep everyone up to date. Thanks for joining us, folks.